Hey Waffle Gang, I do hope you are well. My name is Mark and today we're checking out some more Reddit stories, and if you do love a Reddit story, why not consider hitting that like, subscribe, maybe that notification bell too, and let's crack on with today's first story. Much love guys. Now today's first story comes from Dealing with a Crazy, who says, me, 37 male, trying to deal with 24 female potential stalker. So I have what my buddies describe as a crazy dream. I have this really hot new hire that seems to be into me, which would normally be great, but she's also super young and potentially a stalker. Here is the deal. We work in the same building, but not on the same project or anything. We cross paths in the cafeteria and in the garage, but outside of that, don't really interact on a daily thing. Our first meeting was back in April at an office happy hour thing. It seemed to be a pleasant conversation and we hit it off for a few hours and then went our separate ways. We'd cross paths a few times in the hall or the company cafeteria, but would just smile or stop and make small talk. And about 2 weeks ago, I was sitting having lunch outside by myself and she came and joined me out the blue. We laughed and joked and then finished up and I went back to work. When I came out that night to leave for work, she was sitting on my motorcycle waiting for me. She asked if I would take her for a ride around the block, but I explained to her that I only had one helmet and riding in our city without one could get us a ticket. I know, weak excuse, and my buddies gave me flack for it, but honestly, I'm weird about safety when I ride. I told her maybe another time and then went home. 2 days later, I'm at the gym finishing up and I get a tap on my shoulder. It's the intern. We talked and she told me she just joined, to which I thought nothing about and then went on my way. Now, I'm not going to I was thinking of maybe asking her out, but I really don't want to screw around with my job and career just over a hot girl whom I may or may not have anything in common with. I talked it over with my friends and well, many feel the same, with a few that live for the moment and others that put more thought into actions. The next day, last week, she joins me for lunch again. We get to talking some more and she told me she wasn't sure about joining a gym, but after talking to a few people and seeing that I worked out there, she decided to give it a shot. Fast forward to last night where I get a strange knock on my door. I open it up and who is there? You guessed it, the intern girl. She said she was in the neighborhood and wanted to know if I wanted to go out for dinner and some beers. Now, I'm a bit creeped out and asked her how she knows where I live, to which she states she peeked at my employee file. She works in HR as an intern there. I tell her this is not acceptable and ask her to leave because I already had plans. She apologizes and leaves. Now, I know she is young, so some of this might be impetuous mistakes, but I'm honestly a little freaked out by this. I don't know if I should report this to HR, where she works, or let this go. I mean, I don't think I've done anything to lead her on. I've not asked her out, slept with her, or even do anything outside of have lunch with her. I'm not trying to get her fired or ruin my career in any way. One of my friends seems to think if I just went out with her, she would calm down, but I don't think I want to encourage the behavior and end up with a dead animal nailed to my door or something. I'm not sure if I go to HR and say, hey, your intern is looking into my personal file and showing up where I work out and at my home, if they would believe it. She also seems genuinely nice and sincere in conversation, so I don't want to ruin her life if it was just a stupid mistake we make as a kid type of thing. I also don't want to assume that because of this she is interested in me, then try to have a talk with her and have it come across as if I'm at fault here. What is the best way for me to protect myself and proceed from here? Am I overreacting or making a big deal out of nothing? In this, he's honestly better than me because I don't think I'd have much sympathy for a 24-year-old doing this kind of thing either. It would genuinely just freak me out. They're old enough to fully understand that accessing someone's private employee file to get their home address is completely unacceptable. You know, that doesn't come across to me as young and impulsive as crossing a serious boundary. Yes, of course, there could be some mental health stuff going on, but this is not acceptable in any way, shape or form. And OP needs to be going to HR straight away and saying, what the hell is going on here? Because it seems to just escalate all the way through. A commenter says, do not excuse this because she is young. I'm 25 and work in the corporate HR world. I'd be fired for doing something as violating as what she had done. Looking at an employee's file to obtain and use their information is a huge nope. I think it's important to think about this in reverse. Would a 37-year-old woman feel the same as you if a 24-year-old male co-worker showed up at her doorstep admitting he looked at her employee files? She is a liability to you and to the company you work for. You need to report this. I'm actually shocked you have not. Edit. Would hate to work for a company with an HR advisor and director like her one day. She's willing to cross the line of trust. Opie says, well, I just came back from HR. My main concern was because she works with them and at her age and sex, it would look like something I caused or take her side. You know how certain departments protect their own or keep it internal. I spoke to the HR director directly and told her about what has been going on. She asked if I had any proof of this, which outside of maybe a few of my friends eating lunch with us, I really don't. She did say she would look at the HR system as that tracks all movement to see if anyone accessed my files. In the meanwhile, I'm trying to keep my contact with her to a minimum, which is not a problem for me. I cannot control if I see her at the gym, but outside of that I have pretty much told HR and now have to wait and see what they will do. So OP did come back in with an update and said, taking a few of your advices, and I reached out to the head of my department and shot him an email over the weekend explaining my situation and my talk with the HR director. After that, I went about my weekend and put it out of my mind. But that said, there were a few times when my phone would go off and I would get a bit nervous that I would get a message or a call from her, but that subsided. In fact, when I walked through the doors this morning, I really had started feeling better about the whole situation, like everything was back to normal. An hour had passed and all of a sudden my department head pulled me into his office and sat me down. He and I go way back to when I first started working here, so he told me that he had talked to HR and that he was not allowed to discuss anything with me until they had spoken to me first. He then told me to consider my options before I signed any paperwork, then walked me up to HR. Now, I'm a grown man, but I have to admit that the walk and elevator ride up to HR was the most uncomfortable, silent, and nerve-wracking experience I had experienced in a while. It was like being marched to the principal's office and you were not sure why. My stomach was in knots and thoughts of getting a lawyer or finding a new job started jumping into my head. By the time I sat down in the HR director's office, I felt like I was going to jump out my skin. The HR director sat me down and went over what I had reported on Friday before leaving for the day. She kept saying that she wanted to make sure I wasn't leaving out any detail or if I had any video or audio proof of what I claimed. At this point, I felt like I was on trial for something, so I started asking why I would have any of that or even be prepared to document my life in such a way when up to her showing up to my house, I had never put any thought about her being anything other than friendly. She then told me that they found my records had been reviewed as well as others, but I was the only one that had come forwards with anything. As you can imagine, I was confused at what was going on and a bit scared. So I asked her flat out what was going on. She told me that as of today, the intern had been fired and if I wanted to pursue legal matters against her, restraining orders, breach of privacy, etc., the company would provide me full support and back me up legally with lawyers. I'm also at this time getting 2 years of free credit monitoring and insurance. The company would not bring up legal recourse against the intern unless I wanted to. There was mention of offers for counseling and such, but I let them know I wouldn't be needing it, as nothing outside of her showing up happened. They let me know I have 48 hours to take all the paperwork to my lawyers and think about what I would like to do. But as of right now, I don't think I have anything to worry about. I talked to my director after the meeting and he told me that the company at this time is afraid I will sue, which he doesn't recommend, but I don't have to worry about my job. I told him I wouldn't be pressing charges against her as she had already lost her job and well, I feel like that would be taking it too far. He had a different feeling about it, but also told me that he might have handled the situation differently if he wasn't married and it happened to him. Overall, I feel relieved and wanted to thank everyone that had given the advice before. A deleted commenter quotes OP saying she told me that as of today the intern had been fired and if I wanted to pursue legal matters against her, restraining orders, breach of privacy, etc., the company would provide me full support and back me up legally with lawyers. I am also at this time getting 2 years free credit of monitoring and insurance. Ben says, sounds like they are massively trying to cover their asses and doing a good job of it really. Bottom line, you could sue if you wanted to. I personally wouldn't because you really haven't been wronged in any major way. They seem to be doing the right thing by you. Having that kind of lawsuit in your professional history would be bad for you personally. OP says, well, I already knew I wasn't going to sue unless I got fired. Pretty much I'm one of those guys that isn't out looking for blood or a quick payment. I like where I work. I like what I do most of the time, so I really never would want to do anything except clear my name if things had turned out the other way. With that said, no, I won't sue or press charges. The only thing I plan to do is bring the documents to my lawyers to make sure that I don't miss a clause in legalese that says by accepting this document, my firstborn child will be named Bacon Narwhal Jr. I'd have to cut my left testicle off with a rusty spoon after Monday. You know, basic stuff. Someone asks, what were the documents? Opie says, well, one is an NDA stating standard stuff. One packet is for identity theft protection stuff. One packet is for the use of the lawyers. One packet is for pursuing legal matters against intern. And one packet is a standard acceptance and acknowledgement of what I brought to HR. What has happened to lead me to this point in my life, what was discovered, what was done, that legally I promise this is all true, etc. The last document is the one I have marked for my lawyer to read first, because that is the one that, while I'm certain is standard, I guess I've never been in this situation before, is the one that I don't want to sign right away. I'm pretty sure that it states that if they get sued by her for wrongful dismissal, it was due to my statement and actions. So Opie comes in with their final update and says, one final post. I don't see this warranting another update post, so lawyers reviewed and drafted up a response statement. I signed 3 out of all the packets and submitted the response statement with the 4th and 5th. It's really not a packet, just a sheet of paper. I know many of you say reporter and press charges, but here is the thing. According to my lawyer, that kind of makes her unemployable. I'm not looking to ruin her life, but restraint orders and charges pressed make her really unemployable. I'm not saying this for any other reason as to be a simple human being. The letter I submitted states that I'm taking this chance and reserve the rights to press charges / restraining orders for a later date if further contact pursues. As for the identity theft and such, I plan to take full advantage of it and have requested a request of proof that there was a breach of my information through the HR department. This, I am told, is only to be used if I have my identity stolen so that I can assist with stopping it, and from talking to HR, this isn't a problem. I know I need to protect myself, and I realize this could be potentially dangerous, even more so than the motorcycle riding or whatever other stupid choices in my life. However, I don't feel the need to push the envelope and ruin another human's life. She's already unemployed and may have a hard time finding another job in this field. I don't wish to compound that in such a way as to make her unemployable. I also wanted to thank each and every one of you that took time out of your day to read this, and a special thank you to those of you that gave such great advice. Commenter says, I think it's really nice of you that you aren't pressing charges. Granted, I've never had anyone stalking me, so I may feel different if I had more experience. Much like you, I'm sure, I hope her getting fired it was enough of a shock to make her stop. Of course, if she tries to contact you again at all, you should definitely do something. Your safety is far more important, and mistakes are our own problem. Opie says, oh, I plan to. Honestly, if I came across her, say, in a grocery store, I'm not going to freak out and be like, oh my god, you're a stalker. If she shows up at my place again, I'd be like, hey, look, you seem like a good kid, but you're going about this the wrong way. Don't come by here again anymore. If you do, and if I see you, I'm going to have to get a restraining order, or something along those lines. I'm not bulletproof, stab-proof, or even poison-proof, but I'm not going to live my life in fear of a 100-pound little girl. A commenter says, well then, that escalated quickly. If you're satisfied with their handling of the situation, then you're good. I'm sure it's just a way for the company, especially big corporate companies, to cover any possible loophole for you to sue. Good job on the way you handled it. I think I would have ended up sleeping with her and been all sorts of shit with HR and lost my job. Note to self, don't bone co-workers. Thanks for the update. Great posts. Opie says, yeah, I would have been lying if I said that if she hadn't shown up at my place, we would have just hung out like we were doing. I probably would have been more receptive to the idea of pursuing something outside the workplace, especially if it was a short-term intern. And one more commenter says, listen, as a guy who was stalked in my 30s, let me just say this. Keep your head on a fucking swivel, because it is not at all cool when you're walking up to your front door after a long day, and out of nowhere, 110 pounds of sobbing, lustful confusion tackles you from behind, begging to talk, sex, come inside, whatever you want, just as long as you interact with her crazy self. Seriously, her showing up at your place when she should have had your address gave me flashbacks. People like this simply do not understand social norms, or maybe they think they just don't apply to them. I don't know. So yeah, keep an eye out. She may well want to talk to you now. This gave me conflicting feelings on the end of it, loads of comments saying that Opie did the right thing by not going any further, etc, etc, whereas I'm kind of like with that last comment, and it just feels like Opie is downplaying the situation a little bit. He keeps calling her a kid. She's 24. She used HR's access to pull someone's private address and then went to his door. And maybe I've watched one too many crime documentaries or whatever, but usually when something like this happens, they get rejected in any kind of way, it escalates even further, which I hope it really didn't happen for OP, but wow, what do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below, and let's move on to another story. Now our next story comes from Notice Impressive 8683 and says, my mum thinks she deserves to move in after her boyfriend broke up with her. Hi, sorry if this is all over the place, that's how my head is at the moment. My 20 female mum, 41 female, is wanting to move back with me and my siblings. I'll try to keep it short, but basically, she and my stepdad got divorced in November of 2020 because he caught her texting another guy. It was messy and he ended up leaving that same night, and we didn't hear from him for a few months, which I don't blame him for since he was going through a lot, betrayal, and needed to process some things. He's still very much supportive and takes care of us kids. I say stepdad just for the story, but I do take him as my true dad. My bio dad wasn't in the picture much at all. My stepdad took me in as his own when I was a baby, so he is my dad. This is relevant because I feel some people might think I don't have a close relationship with him, but I do. He's the best, and I love him, and he treats me like his own. After that, she left and moved in with said guy, and has left us 4 siblings at home without any parental supervision, and has been like that since. She was really horrible to us kids since she moved in with the guy and treated us like we're a burden, sometimes acting like we didn't exist while she played mummy to his younger kids. Me and my older sibling had to step up and had to take care of us all. Me up until I was legal age, but I helped. When she left, all she said was, there's more than enough of you to rely on each other, and you'll get it when you're older and have children of your own. Personally, I wouldn't abandon my kids for an abusive guy, but maybe that's just me. Sarcasm. She would come back sometimes, but it was only for a day or two to come and get clothes, or if they got into a fight, and then leave back to him, who lives 3 to 4 hours away. We got into a huge argument a few months ago when she and the guy broke up, and he kicked her out for the billionth time and tried to guilt her, saying kids need their mums and all that. I told her something along the lines of, when did you care about this 5 years ago when you left us claiming we'd understand when we were older? We're older now and we still don't understand how a woman can do that to her kids. After that, she got mad, and that's where the argument started. She said some not so nice things about me and my siblings, and that I won't repeat here. But just know it was things a mother should never say to her kids. It ended with her going and staying at our grandparents and texting my older sibling and I guilt trips and playing victim that my grandparents told us to block her. But spoiler alert, she went right back to him a few days later. After this, my older sibling took her to court for custody of our younger siblings and the house, and told her if she doesn't hand over the kids or the house in their name peacefully, they'd out her in court and tell them what she'd been doing. Blackmail isn't right, I know, but it worked. My mum gave the house and the kids to my older sibling and claimed to be an unfit parent. That was it. Now she and the guy broke up and apparently done for good, as he's thrown out all her things. She got a new number and called my older sibling asking if she could have her room back in the house and she would never leave us again. We've already turned her room into the youngest and she likes her space. Obviously, we told her no. This is when she started playing the victim card and tried turning it around on us, saying that we are mean and she's done everything for us kids and that our dad turned us against her. We told her our dad doesn't even talk about her anymore unless we bring her up, and then she started getting mad saying we are ungrateful brats again, and that we should be thanking her for giving us the house and not throwing us out like she wanted. She then proceeded to demand that we let her move in and that she wasn't taking no for an answer, that she raised us and that she's still the mum and has final say. We threatened her and told her if she even tries anything, we'd get the police involved, but so far that hasn't stopped her. She's going to try and move in sometime tomorrow because all she said was, we'll talk in person about this. See you soon, love you. And honestly, don't even know what to do if she does. I really hope she doesn't go through with it so we don't have to get the police involved, but so far, that looks like where it's going. Today, we changed our locks thanks to some advice. Edit, good morning. I honestly really didn't think this would get that much attention. I just posted and went to sleep. I just brought the kids to school and I'm at work till noon. My older sibling is at home waiting to see if she shows up this morning at all. We decided to take shifts, them for the morning and me for the afternoon, so the house isn't left alone. We also contacted our uncle and aunt on my dad's side for support in case. Thank you so much for the nice and supportive words and the advice. I'll make sure to read everything once I can. Have a good day. The first commenter said to OP, thank heavens you see through a pathetic manipulation. You changed the locks, damn. Just stay as strong as you are now for the rest of your life. Hugs from a stranger. A commenter says to OP, I'd even say call the police now on the non-emergency number. Inform them of the problem and the reality. Inquire where you can send your documentation and case numbers and any relevant contacts. social workers, school counselors, etc., so they can check on your situation. Request how you can best contact them if your mother does show up or if your mother calls the police herself. Can you request a specific officer, or is there a case number you can give any random officer on the scene, etc.? Then teach all the siblings, young and old, the grey rock technique. Avoid emotional outbursts. Try only repeat standard phrases like, "Our legal guardian, oldest sibling, has explained everything to Officer XYZ yesterday. Can you get them here?" Or, "Mum, everything has been discussed 2 years ago when oldest sibling became our legal guardian. We'll visit you at your place when you have one, but they've made it clear you can't live here," etc. Commenter says if you have a garage, she may have a remote or know the code. You may want to change the code or find a way to lock it, and cameras are cheap. It can catch her trying to break in and will help with a court order. You should look in to get a restraining order and your older sibling one along with the other siblings. She doesn't own the house and she has no parental rights. She tries to break in, then charges can be brought as well. It is awesome her pleas that she is the mother and not working. All of you know the first guy she falls for she would take off. She's just looking for a place to crash and food to eat. She wants to play mummy card because it is convenient. She had years to show she wanted to be involved and she didn't want to, and she doesn't now. Again, she just says these things because she needs a convenient place to stay until something better comes along. Another commenter says if and when she inevitably tries to come over/move in, don't let her in and immediately call the police to get a trespass from the property. That will create a paperwork trail and will allow the police to potentially arrest her if she comes back again. Also make sure to have all the relevant paperwork on hand, custody and home ownership, and ready to show the police. Good luck. And there was loads of questions from people concerning whether dad was in all this, what about the house, the legal guardian thing. So OP did come in with an update and says, "Hi, before I get into the update, just let me clear a few things up to the best of my ability with my somewhat clueless ass. I saw a lot of questions about some stuff, so I'll answer here, even though I don't feel like completely airing out my own family and our business. But I guess I did post for the whole internet to see, so that's on me. 1. Where was dad in all of this? After the divorce, my mum kept custody of us kids and he wasn't allowed to be at the house with us. After the messy divorce, my mum basically took everything from him and he was couch surfing on friends' couches until he got enough for an apartment. He didn't have enough room to move all of us kids with him, but he was and still is very supportive and very much in our lives as much as he can be. 2. As for the house, the rent was in my mum's name for a while after the divorce until we told the landlord about our situation. And we're wondering if it was possible if we could get the name under my older sibling's name. I don't know. My older sibling handled the legal stuff, so I'm not too sure what all happened. All I know is that it somehow worked out, thank goodness. At the time, my mum was still paying for the rent and utilities, so I guess that counts for something, somewhat. But we did have to take our own money for groceries and take care of the kids ourselves, and she eventually stopped paying for it altogether as we got older, before it was moved into my older sibling's name, so that helped us get it into my older sibling's name too. 3. The legal guardian switched to my older sibling. I'm not too sure about how and what happened unfortunately. I just know that they went to court. My mum willingly gave over custody because we blackmailed her, and that was that. I'm sorry, I don't know much about the legal process or how it happened. 4. Where we're from, we aren't from the US, that's all I'm gonna say. 5. This is AI. This one made me laugh because does our life really sound like an AI story? Weird. I don't know what to tell you. If you believe this is all fake, then move along. I don't know. Thank you to those who have given advice and support. I think that's all the stuff mentioned in the comments of my post. Now, onto the update. In the morning, I dropped the kids off at school and went to work. My older sibling stayed home in case my mum showed up. I got off at noon and we switched off, so my older sibling went to work and I came home. My mum texted and told us that she'd be here around 5 PM. We told her once again that we wouldn't be letting her move in and that she needs to find somewhere else to go because it's not here. She replied with a simple, "Don't be like that." My older sibling told her, "Show up, the cops will be waiting." And she didn't reply after that. She showed up around 3 when it was just me and my uncle here. My uncle immediately stood up and walked out to talk to her. I called my older sibling and told them that she was here. My sibling told me to call the cops. I called the cops and went outside after that. When I went outside, I saw her screaming at my uncle and was telling him he couldn't keep her from her kids. I stepped in and told her that no one was keeping us from her. It was our decision not wanting her here. She turned to me and told me to not talk like that to her. I told her I can and will talk to her however I want because she treated us however she wanted, like when she wants to act like we're her kids, only when it was convenient for her. Of course, she didn't take this well and started getting mad, saying we're being dramatic and that she didn't do anything wrong. That she left us because she knew that we were more than old enough to handle ourselves. That she needed to be happy too. I sort of laughed at her and said, yeah, and how'd the fuck that work out? The argument went on until my older siblings showed up with the younger siblings and they told her she had to leave and that the police were called. My mum told them that she wasn't going anywhere because she was our mum and she wasn't going to let us disrespect her like this. My older sibling said that was fine and we could wait for the cops. My uncle tried to take the civil approach and told her she didn't have to make this hard and she could just leave and stay somewhere else like my grandparents. She didn't take too kindly to that and once again started cussing him out, telling him to stay out of it, and even went as far as slapping him. By this time, the kids were still in the car and were getting upset about all the screaming she was doing, and I told her she needed to stop because she was upsetting the kids. My older sibling quickly got the kids out and told me to bring them inside and stay with them. I took them inside and made sure to calm them down until the police arrived. I don't know what exactly happened after that. I was watching from the window but couldn't really hear anything and was told it was just more arguing on her part. My older sibling told me that she also started harassing them because they are non-binary and said some not so nice words about them, which really angered me. Eventually, after about 10 minutes, the police arrived and they asked what was happening and whatever, and I went out because they wanted my side. So I told them and they asked for documents and my older sibling went inside to grab everything from their room. The police looked over them and asked more questions, and after that they told her she needed to leave and that it was up to my uncle if he wanted to press charges for the assault. That's when she started crying and then saying things like, I just want to be back with my kids, and started apologizing for everything she did, but the police just kept saying, I know, but we can't do anything about that. If they don't want you here, then you can't be here, and things like that. She eventually left and the cops asked my uncle if he wanted to press charges. He said no, it was fine. So that was that. They told us if she shows up again to call and she'll be arrested. We didn't know where she is or if she's coming back. Hopefully not. Anyways, yeah. That's basically what happened. Hope you adds in the comments, continuing the questions here because for some reason they didn't post when I wrote them. 6. The complicated family tree. My 3 siblings have the same bio dad, aka my stepdad. My mum and him got together in 2001, I think. Had my older sibling in 2002, broke up in 2004. My mum had me with my bio dad in 2005. Then they didn't work out after he cheated on her when I was a newborn. Then got back together with my stepdad almost immediately after and stayed together and got married in 2011. Had the 2 younger ones later on and split up and got divorced for 4 years after the youngest one was born. So yeah, that's what I mean, that he raised me. He's been in my life since I was in diapers and he's the only dad I've known. 7. Our ages. My older sibling is 24. My mum had them at 17. I don't feel comfortable with sharing the younger one's ages online. Just know that they were a bit young when my mum took off with her now ex-boyfriend. But my answer above should give you an idea if you want to do the math yourself. 8. Why no one called CPS. Me and my older sibling didn't want us to get separated from our younger siblings. My older sibling was 18 at the time when it all happened, so was legally an adult. My grandparents and other family members helped us out when they could, but no one had room for us and were under the impression that my mum would come back eventually. We also just didn't want to move them out of their childhood home and add to the stress and trauma of being left by our mum. Stupid? Immature? Maybe, but we got the hang of it. What has happened has happened. And the majority of the comments on this are just cheering OP and their family on, saying absolutely good on you. It sounds like they're doing as well as they can in that situation. But bloody hell, the mum keep turning up and saying the words, I'm your mum, like it's some fucking magical phrase that erases all this abandonment that she's done, the cruelty towards her own children. It's just mind-blowing, isn't it? Your own kids and you're treating them like this. What an absolute scummy person. Being a parent is more than just giving birth and occasionally showing back up when your own life falls apart. And even at the end, when the police are literally telling her to leave, she still couldn't fully admit any wrongdoing. She kept all turning it round about disrespect, her feelings, what she wanted. Meanwhile, the kids had already spent years raising themselves. Crikey. What do you guys make of this situation? Let us know your thoughts down in the comments below. And just a huge thank you for being here today, getting involved in the stories, your love, your support, your time. It always means the absolute world to me. So thank you so much for being here. Truly, it's absolutely amazing. And hopefully I'm going to see you in the next one. Take care and much love.